You think finding a house for $1 is impossible? Cool. Let me introduce you to 15 towns where that fantasy is actually reality. These are not scams, not clickbait, and not properties that turn out to be garden sheds. Well, maybe one is questionable, but we will get to that. Most people assume cheap home ownership died sometime around 2008 when the housing market collapsed and then came back angrier and more expensive. But scattered across America and Europe are actual towns where $1 buys you a real house with the understanding that you will renovate it and actually live there. We are talking about legitimate programs designed to revitalize dying towns by giving away properties to people willing to invest in restoration. The catch? There is always a catch. Maybe the town lost 80% of its population when the factory closed. Maybe renovation costs will run you $100,000 and nobody told you about the foundation issues. Or maybe the $1 house comes with requirements so specific that you basically need to be unemployed, wealthy, and willing to relocate to the middle of nowhere simultaneously. Subscribe now, because one day you might actually want to take advantage of programs like these, and knowing which ones are legitimate versus which ones are bureaucratic nightmares matters. These are real towns with real dollar home programs, and yes, you really can get property for the price of a candy bar if you meet their requirements. Let us break down where these programs exist and what you are really signing up for when you buy a house for less than a coffee. LaGrad. Croatia sits near the Hungarian border with a €1 house program that actually works if you are young and committed. This town has about 2,100 people, lost population steadily for decades, and decided giving away houses to young families was better than watching them crumble. Here is the LaGrad situation. Houses are offered for €1 to buyers under 40 years old who commit to living there for at least 15 years and renovating within 2 years. The properties are real houses, not ruins, though many need significant work. Renovation costs typically run between $50,000 and $150,000, depending on condition. You are buying into a rural Croatian town near the Drava River, with quiet village life and limited job opportunities unless you work remotely. The cost of living is low, property taxes are minimal, and Croatia offers EU membership benefits. The landscape is green and agricultural, with a slower pace that either appeals to you or makes you lose your mind within 6 months. One person who bought through the program said they spent €1 on the house and $80,000 on renovations over 18 months. They work remotely, have a completely restored village house, and live in rural Croatia for less than they paid in annual rent back home. But they also learned Croatian, adapted to village life where everyone knows your business, and accepted that entertainment means driving 40 minutes to the nearest city. The program works if you meet age requirements and actually want quiet rural European living. The house costs €1. The renovation costs real money. The lifestyle costs your previous urban anonymity. Musumeli. Dowries, Sicily runs a €1 house program that gets international attention and actually delivers properties if you navigate the Italian bureaucracy successfully. This town has about 11,000 people, sits in central Sicily surrounded by hills, and offers crumbling historic houses for €1 to buyers willing to renovate within 3 years and post a $5,700 deposit that you get back after completion. Here is what Musumeli involves. The houses are often centuries old in the historic center, needing complete renovation. Costs typically range from $30,000 for basic restoration to over $100,000 for full luxury renovation. You are required to submit renovation plans, get approval from local authorities, and hire local contractors when possible. The bureaucracy is Italian, which means paperwork, delays, and processes that make you understand why Italy has a reputation for administrative complexity. Property taxes are low, living costs are reasonable. You are in Sicily with Mediterranean climate. incredible food, and a culture that moves at Sicilian pace. The job market is limited unless you bring your own income through remote work or retirement funds. One buyer said they purchased a €1 house and spent $60,000 renovating it into a beautiful Sicilian home. The process took 3 years with bureaucratic delays that added months. They hired local workers, learned conversational Italian, and now split time between Sicily and their home country. The house cost €1. The renovation cost moderate money. The patience required cost years of dealing with permits and inspections that happen on schedules only Italians understand. Musameli works if you want Sicilian property and can handle Italian administrative processes without losing your mind. Sambuca di Sicilia, also in Sicily, offers €1 houses with similar terms but slightly different requirements, and a town that is aggressively marketing the program internationally. This town has about 6,000 people, sits inland with views of surrounding valleys, and grabbed headlines by selling dozens of properties for €1 to international buyers. Here is the Sambuca breakdown. Houses are offered for €1 with required renovations within 3 years and a deposit of roughly $5,400 returned after work completion. The properties range from small townhouses to larger historic buildings, all needing significant restoration. Renovation costs average $40,000 to $80,000 for livable results. The town is working to streamline bureaucracy and help foreign buyers navigate Italian systems. You are in rural Sicily with limited employment unless self-funded. The climate is Mediterranean. The food culture is exceptional. The pace is slow enough that rushing feels offensive. One couple who bought said they spent €1 on the property and $55,000 on renovation using local contractors recommended by the town. The process had delays, but town officials actively helped with paperwork. They now own a renovated Sicilian house they use part-time and rent out when absent. The house cost €1. The renovation cost real money. The cultural adjustment cost learning that Sicilian timelines are suggestions rather than commitments. Sambuca works if you want similar Sicilian programs with towns actively trying to make the process easier for international buyers. Latronico, Italy in the Basilicata region, offers houses for €1 in a southern Italian town trying to reverse population decline through aggressive property programs. This town has about 4,500 people, sits in mountainous terrain, and provides €1 houses with requirements including 3-year renovation completion and deposits around $5,700. Here is what Latronico involves. Properties are often old stone houses in the historic center needing complete restoration. Renovation costs typically range from $25,000 to $70,000 depending on size and condition. The town is less internationally known than Sicilian programs, which means fewer competing buyers and potentially easier processes. You are in southern Italy with mountain scenery, hot springs nearby, and rural life that defines quiet. Job opportunities are minimal. Most participants work remotely or are retirees. The cost of living is among the lowest in Italy. Property taxes are negligible. One buyer said they purchased for €1 and renovated for $40,000, creating a mountain retreat in southern Italy. The bureaucracy was challenging but manageable with local help. They spend summers there and rent it during off-season. The house cost €1. The renovation cost moderate money. The isolation means your nearest airport requires serious driving, and embracing that remoteness is the whole point. Latronico works for people wanting less touristy Italian property in mountain settings where quiet is the primary amenity. Carrega Ligure, Italy in the Piedmont region, sells houses for €1 in a mountain village so remote that population dropped to about 80 people. This town sits in the Apennine Mountains near the Ligurian border, offering properties for €1 to buyers willing to renovate and help revitalize a nearly abandoned village. Here is the Carrega Ligure reality. Houses are stone mountain structures often needing complete restoration, including roofs, utilities, and structural work. Renovation costs can exceed $100,000 for full restoration because remoteness increases material and labor costs. Requirements include renovation completion within 3 years and commitments to actually use the property rather than flipping immediately. You are in a mountain village where winters are harsh, services are minimal, and the nearest town with amenities requires winding mountain roads. The population is mostly elderly. Job opportunities do not exist. This program targets retirees, remote workers, or people wanting extreme rural Italian mountain living. One person who bought said they spent €1 on a stone house and $90,000 on renovation over 4 years. The remoteness is extreme. Their nearest neighbors are spread across the mountainside. They use it as a summer retreat and embrace the isolation that comes with mountain village life, where you are essentially pioneering revival. The house cost €1. The renovation cost significant money because transporting materials up mountain roads is expensive. The lifestyle costs any expectation of convenience or community unless you consider 80 elderly mountain dwellers sufficient social life. Carrega Leaguer works only if you want extreme remote mountain living and understand you are helping preserve a dying village. Troina, Sicily offers €1 houses in a mountain town with Greek and Roman history sitting at high elevation in central Sicily. This town has about 9,000 people, occupies one of the highest towns in Sicily, and provides €1 properties with standard renovation requirements and deposits. Here is what Troina delivers. Houses are historic properties in older sections needing restoration. Costs typically range from $35,000 to $75,000 for renovation. The elevation means cooler temperatures than coastal Sicily and mountain views across the island. You are in a working Sicilian town with actual local economy, services, and community, rather than a nearly abandoned village. Job opportunities are limited but exist in local businesses, services, and agriculture. The program is less internationally saturated than coastal programs, meaning potentially smoother processes. Property taxes are low. Living costs are reasonable. One buyer said they purchased for €1 and renovated for $50,000, creating a mountain house in Sicily with views and cooler climate than the coast. The town has actual community, local festivals, and services. The bureaucracy was Italian standard, meaning complicated but navigable. They use it part-time and rent occasionally. The house cost €1. The renovation cost moderate investment. The mountain location means you trade beaches for elevation and cooler temperatures that some prefer. Troina works if you want Sicilian property with more community infrastructure than dying villages, but still small-town character. Camerata, Sicily runs a €1 program in a town of about 6,000 people sitting in mountain terrain with views toward the coast. This town offers properties for €1 following similar terms as other Sicilian programs with renovation requirements and deposits ensuring commitment. Here is the Camerata situation. Houses are in the historic center needing significant work. Renovation costs range from $30,000 to $80,000 depending on ambition. The town is working to attract international buyers while maintaining local character. You are in interior Sicily with mountain climate, agricultural surroundings, and distance from tourist crowds. Job opportunities are limited to local economy. Most buyers are remote workers or retirees funding themselves. The cost of living is low. Property taxes are minimal. The culture is small-town Sicily, where everyone knows everyone and newcomers are noticed. One couple who participated said they bought for €1, spent $60,000 renovating, and created a Sicilian mountain home they use seasonally. The town is friendly, the process had typical Italian delays, and they learned enough Italian to navigate local life. The house cost €1. The renovation cost real money. The community cost integrating into a small town where being the foreign newcomer is your identity until you prove you're staying. Camerata works if you want interior Sicilian property with mountain setting and are comfortable being obvious outsiders who eventually become accepted locals if you stick around. Bivona in Sicily offers €1 houses in another small Sicilian town of about 4,000 people trying to reverse depopulation through property programs. This town sits in agricultural country, with almond groves and rural character providing houses for €1 under standard Sicilian terms. Here is what Bivona involves. Properties need renovation with costs typically $40,000 to $90,000, depending on size and condition. Requirements include renovation completion within 3 years and deposits refunded after work finishes. The town is smaller and quieter than even other program towns with economy based on agriculture and local services. Job opportunities are extremely limited. You are essentially required to bring your own income. The cost of living is among Sicily's lowest. Property taxes are negligible. You are in rural Sicily where life moves at agricultural pace and entertainment means festivals and local gatherings. One person who bought said they purchased for €1, renovated for $45,000, and created a small rural Sicilian house they use for extended stays. The isolation is real. The nearest city requires driving. The town has minimal services. But the cost is incredibly low, and the property is legitimately theirs in rural Sicily. The house cost €1. The renovation cost moderate money. The rural isolation costs access to anything resembling urban amenities or job markets unless you are self-sufficient. Bivona works if you want maximum rural Sicilian authenticity and minimum cost with the understanding that quiet means really quiet. Ololai. Sardinia runs a €1 house program on the Italian island of Sardinia in a mountain town trying to combat depopulation. This town has about 1,300 people, sits in mountainous interior Sardinia, and offers properties for €1 to buyers committing to renovation within 3 years. Here is the Ololai breakdown. Houses are traditional Sardinian stone structures in the historic center needing restoration. Renovation costs range from $40,000 to $100,000 depending on property size. The island location means material costs can be higher because everything ships to Sardinia. You are in interior Sardinia with mountain scenery, traditional culture, and distance from coastal tourist areas. The job market is minimal. Most buyers are remote workers or retirees. The cost of living is moderate for Italy, elevated slightly by island logistics. Property taxes are low. The culture is distinctly Sardinian with its own language, traditions, and identity separate from mainland Italy. One buyer said they purchased for €1 and spent $70,000 renovating a stone house in the mountains. The island setting means everything takes longer and costs slightly more, but the result is property in Sardinia, with mountain views and traditional character. The house cost €1. The renovation costs significant investment because island logistics increase expenses. The cultural isolation means learning that Sardinia considers itself different from Italy, and you are now part of that distinct identity. Ololai works if you want Sardinian mountain property and can handle island life with higher costs than mainland programs. Cinque Fondi, Italy and Calabria offers houses for €1 in southern mainland Italy in a town trying to reverse decades of population loss. This town has about 6,000 people, sits in Calabria's mountainous interior, and provides €1 properties under standard Italian terms with renovation requirements. Here is what Cinque Fondi delivers. Houses are older properties needing complete restoration with costs typically $30,000 to $70,000. The town is working to attract buyers while maintaining local character. You are in Calabria, the toe of Italy's boot, with mountain scenery, Mediterranean climate, and southern Italian culture. Job opportunities are limited to local economy. Most participants are self-funded through remote work or retirement. The cost of living is among Italy's lowest. Property taxes are minimal. The region has a reputation for organized crime historically, though the town itself is working on revitalization and safety. One person who bought said they purchased for €1, renovated for $50,000, and created a Calabrian mountain house. The town is friendly, the bureaucracy is standard Italian complexity, and the cost of living allows comfortable life on modest income. The house cost €1. The renovation cost moderate money. The regional reputation costs dealing with perceptions about Calabria that may or may not reflect current reality in small towns trying to rebuild. Cinque Frondi works if you want southern Italian property at low cost and can navigate both bureaucracy and regional perceptions. Maenza, the Italy near Rome, offers €1 houses closer to major cities than most programs in a town of about 3,000 people in the Lazio region. This town sits in hills southeast of Rome, providing properties for €1 under similar terms as other programs. Here is the Maenza situation. Houses need renovation with costs ranging from $40,000 to $90,000. The proximity to Rome means slightly higher costs, but also better access to services, airports, and employment if you commute. Requirements include renovation completion and deposits. You are within reach of Rome while living in a small hill town with views and traditional character. The job market locally is limited, but Rome proximity provides options other programs lack. The cost of living is higher than remote southern programs, but lower than Roman suburbs. Property taxes are moderate. The one buyer said they purchased for €1, spent $65,000 renovating, and created a house within commuting distance of Rome for total investment far below Roman property prices. The house cost €1. The renovation cost real money. The location cost higher expenses than remote programs, but gained proximity to major city infrastructure. Maenza works if you want €1 programs with better access to urban centers and are willing to pay moderately higher costs for that convenience. Zungoli, Italy in Campania, offers €1 houses in a medieval hilltop town of about 1,200 people trying to attract new residents. This town sits in interior Campania with stone streets and historic character, providing properties for €1 under standard terms. Here is what Zungoli involves. Houses are medieval stone structures needing complete restoration with costs typically $35,000 to $80,000. The town is small, quiet, and historically significant with architecture worth preserving. You are in southern Italy with limited job opportunities requiring self-funded income. The cost of living is low. Property taxes are minimal. The town is working to streamline processes for international buyers. One couple who participated said they bought for €1, renovated for $55,000, and created a medieval Italian house in a hilltop town with incredible views. The isolation is real. The town is tiny. But the cost is low and the character is authentic medieval Italian architecture. The house cost €1. The renovation cost moderate investment. The medieval setting costs modern convenience because restoring centuries-old structures within historic preservation rules adds complexity. Zungoli works if you want authentic medieval Italian property and embrace that old towns require special renovation approaches. Pratola Peligna, Italy in Abruzzo, offers €1 houses in a town of about 7,000 people in central Italy trying to attract new residents through property programs. This town sits near the Apennine Mountains, providing houses for €1 with standard renovation requirements. Here is the Pratola Peligna breakdown. Properties need restoration with costs ranging from $30,000 to $75,000. The town has more infrastructure than dying villages with services, schools, and local economy. Job opportunities are limited but exist locally. You are in Abruzzo with mountain access, on lower costs than northern Italy, and proximity to national parks. The cost of living is reasonable. Property taxes are low. The climate is continental with cold winters and warm summers. One person who bought said they purchased for €1, renovated for $50,000, and created an Abruzzo house in a town with actual community and services rather than near abandonment. The house cost €1. The renovation cost moderate money. The climate costs heating expenses in winter because mountain regions get genuinely cold. Pratola Poligna works if you want €1 programs in towns with better infrastructure and four-season mountain climate. Baltimore, Maryland ran a dollar house program in the United States, selling abandoned properties for $1 to buyers committing to renovation and residence. This city has about 575,000 people. It faces significant vacancy issues and used dollar programs to address abandoned housing. Here is the Baltimore situation. The program existed in various forms targeting specific neighborhoods, with requirements including owner occupancy for several years and renovation completion within time frames. Properties were often row houses needing complete rehabilitation with costs frequently exceeding $100,000 because urban renovation includes code compliance, utilities, and structural issues. The program faced criticism because some buyers struggled with costs, bureaucracy, and neighborhood challenges, including crime. You are in Baltimore with urban infrastructure, job opportunities, and all challenges of city living in areas that lost population. The properties cost $1. The renovations cost significant money. The neighborhoods cost dealing with urban realities including crime, limited services, and areas still struggling economically. Some participants succeeded creating renovated homes in improving neighborhoods. Others abandoned projects when costs exceeded expectations. Baltimore programs show American versions of dollar houses come with different challenges than European programs because American urban decay includes different structural, legal, and social factors. Liverpool, England experimented with £1 house programs in specific neighborhoods trying to address vacancy and decline in areas of the city. This city has about 500,000 people with sections that lost population and economic base requiring creative housing solutions. Here is what Liverpool programs involved. Houses were offered for £1 in targeted areas with requirements including renovation within specific timeframes and residence commitments. Properties were often terraced houses, needing complete restoration with costs typically £30,000 to £60,000. Requirements included proving financial ability to complete renovation before approval. You are in Liverpool with British weather, urban infrastructure, and neighborhoods working to recover. The programs were limited, competitive, and required demonstrating capacity to actually complete work. Some succeeded revitalizing blocks through committed owners. Others faced challenges when renovation costs exceeded budgets or neighborhood issues persisted. The houses cost £1. The renovations cost real money. The urban British setting costs dealing with planning permissions, building regulations, and neighborhood realities that determine whether investment pays off. Liverpool programs show UK versions exist, but operate differently than Italian programs with stricter upfront requirements and urban rather than rural contexts. Be honest. Would you buy a $1 house if it meant spending $50,000 to $100,000 on renovation and committing years to living somewhere completely unfamiliar? Drop your tolerance for adventure below, because we just counted down 15 places where $1 or €1 actually buys you property if you are willing to invest time, money, and commitment. Like this video if you realize cheap houses exist, but the real cost is everything that comes after the purchase. Subscribe, because knowing where these programs exist and what they actually require might save you from a fantasy or lead you to an opportunity that changes your life if you are genuinely ready for the commitment.